There are 53,000 birds on this Limburg chicken farm in northeast Belgium. Here there are no cages. The chickens are free to come and go as they wish to lay their 50,000 eggs a day in the best possible conditions. Running the chicken farm are Hilde Hendricks Vierbeek and her husband. 3 years ago, the poultry on the farm, located in an area affected by bird flu, was totally destroyed. They've started again from scratch and put in place draconian biosafety measures. The list is long indeed. Change of clothing each time you enter the chicken run, disinfection of shoes, isolation zones, change of shoes, double doors, etc. These are necessary measures on all farms where animals are bred, because the high concentration of animals in certain agricultural businesses makes the farms increasingly vulnerable. For breeders, however, when disease breaks out, it can be a catastrophe.
Our birds were not affected by the disease, but we were in an isolation zone. It was a long period of insecurity and incredible financial pressure. The price of chickens remained low for a long time. We're finding it really very difficult to recover from all that.
After the various crises which have shaken the European Union during the past decade, it was time to evaluate animal health management methods and to look at new options for the future. To do this, all the key players in the sector have been consulted.
There are different things which should be taken into consideration. Is the disease itself, the international obligation we have, and the measures that the farmers can implement himself at local level. All those have to be closely integrated to try to reduce in the future as much as we can the burden on the farmers and the restrictions in place in the affected area.
Bernard Gauthier, a vet at Couvin in Belgium, knows this French case well. He actually detected it on a farm on the other side of the border in the village of Brognon. In the space of a few months, this disease, which is totally harmless to humans, caused huge production problems in the areas affected by the virus. I was called in to look at a sick heifer. She didn't show many symptoms except for basic muscle stiffness and lack of appetite. 3 or 4 days later, she began to hypersalivate. The diagnosis was blue tongue, a disease brought over from Africa by mosquitoes. From a technical point of view, when European law is applied, not a single animal can be moved within a radius of 20 kilometers around the affected farm, and significant transport restrictions are applied within a second radius of 150 kilometers. In just a few weeks, the entire Benelux, northern France and central Germany were paralyzed by the temporary measures. To avoid crises, lots of people are in favor of vaccination, but it's not applicable everywhere. At Nancy, in the main European laboratory for research into rabies, however, they can talk of success. It's here that the degree of vaccination of wild and domestic animals is monitored. The first test is on foxes, #1 carriers of the disease. Every week, a few specimens are analyzed to measure the level of vaccination in the country. As a reference laboratory, scientists in Nancy also analyze the effect of new vaccines on mice, which are then injected with the rabies virus.
Most of the people think that by using vaccination we will avoid the disease, and that's it. It's not the case. If we would, for instance, go back to vaccination against foot-and-mouth disease in the European Union, we would not be able to export meat to third countries. And the European Union is, in itself, a big exporter of meat, especially to Russia.
In Europe, Germany is the main livestock exporter. It is 10 a.m. at the livestock market in Alsfeld. The farmers have brought their best cattle, which they're preparing for sale. Jens Kirk is one of the major exporters in the region. But despite the good quality of the animals, the market is not going well. Alsfeld is located within the 150-kilometer zone. Here, the blue tongue epidemic is killing the market and vaccination will change nothing. The initial reaction when blue tongue first appeared was that practically all the countries to which we exported would not tolerate any trace of blue tongue. As a result, no more exports. It's sad to say, but in order to have some kind of a sales plan, we're obliged to leave the affected zones. Losses caused by blue tongue disease means a drop of 25 to 30% in turnover, according to farmers. But safety zones are indispensable.
The first interest for animal disease and purely animal disease is the farmer. What we try to achieve with the measures that we are imposing to the member states is to reduce as much as we can the burden on the farmers, leaving the farmers which are outside a restricted zone free to maintain trade with our partner in the world.
For livestock farmers in the Alsfeld region, the winter weather will eradicate blue tongue disease. The mosquito which carries the disease cannot stand the cold. However, animal health policy is far from being frozen. Consultations with those involved in the sector show a great need for communication and simplification of the legislation. Over time, the sector should reflect on spreading the responsibilities for and the cost generated by animal disease. Better protection for stock breeders also means increased control at the borders of the Union and a possible reduction in the transport of live animals. Measures which remind us of the old adage, prevention is better than cure.